Let's look at a quick video today about just an example of an unintended consequence of low interest rates. There are a lot of examples, and I'll be highlighting this on media inaccuracies. So the media, CNBC specifically, they correctly highlight that the poor and lower middle class are now paying higher rents because investors are looking for higher yield. Now, someone on Twitter was like, well, easy money for elites drive these prices up. Yeah, man, they're gaming us and yada, yada, yada. By the way, notice that this is why everybody should be concerned. Are investors evil elites who are trying to game the poor, or are they looking for yield? You have $50,000 saved, and it's not earning any money, and you know inflation is coming and making you poorer every year. So you start looking for yield so that you don't get poorer, right? You know, you're not going to get richer by not looking for yield at all when we all know that there's inflation. If you don't believe me, really, so the price of homes, you're trying to tell me in the last 3 years the price of homes haven't risen? In the area I'm living in, the price of homes have gone up a lot. So people start to feel poor, they're going to look for yield. But wait, why are the price of homes going up? Why are the price of goods going up? Oh, the Federal Reserve wants inflation. So wait, they want inflation, so which ends up making investors look for higher yield. So is it the elites, and by elites I'm talking about just investors in general, who are driving these prices up, or is it the Federal Reserve? Everybody always assumes that the elites are in bed with the Federal Reserve. I don't think most investors are. In fact, most investors that I've met, even when I was on Wall Street, the people that I worked with on a regular basis that I met, they hated the Federal Reserve. In fact, the CEO of our company, a big Wall Street guy, testified before Congress, probably been blasted a lot in the media, hated Ben Bernanke and Janet Yellen and Greenspan. In fact, he used to call Janet Yellen his favorite communist. And the reason is because they actually are driving wealth inequality. They're making the poor poor. By the way, the Federal Reserve themselves even admit this. Janet Yellen, read this article. I will, if I can remember, link it in the description. Janet Yellen gave an interesting speech, The Importance of Asset Building for Low and Middle Income Households. She pointed out that the poor need to save more money. Zero Hedge referred it as she's trolling the poor. I agree with Zero Hedge here. You're keeping interest rates low, but then you're trying to tell them to save more money. You're not encouraging them to save more money by keeping interest rates low. If you were to raise interest rates to 9%, and again, I'll link this article so you can read it, because it's just appalling. She's saying one thing, but not doing it, right? She's just talking out of her butt. If you were to raise interest rates, what would happen is the demand for homes would drop, because people would put their money in savings instead of trying to go out and invest in something hoping that it goes out. That's what would happen. It would start rationalizing saving money into a savings account instead of trying to figure out what's going to go up. Prices of houses would collapse. Poor and young people would suddenly be able to afford a house if they wanted. Their rents would go down. Now, it would be higher interest rates to buy a home, but since housing prices would collapse, I predict overall that would be better for consumers. Probably the median house price right now is $81,000. You would probably see that drop to about let's say $20,000 to $130,000. Well, now suddenly people can start to buy a home again. Now you may say, well, but higher interest rates would mean higher unemployment. I don't agree with that. But even if you had some higher unemployment, just like what happened in the Great Recession, a lot of the lies that the media were telling you is that there's all this high unemployment. Wrong. There's high unemployment in certain areas. But in like Nebraska and North Dakota and South Dakota and Texas and Oklahoma, there's all kinds of people needed. What would happen is people would start to migrate to those areas where they need to go. And you'll also happen to find out that, for instance, the housing prices in Nebraska are very affordable. Same thing with Oklahoma. So people would begin to migrate to where the jobs are actually needed. So my point here is that these low interest rates and potentially negative interest rates are coming. You're going to see the poor get very poor and the middle class get poorer if this occurs. But once again, Janet Yellen, she identifies the problem in words, just like Ben Bernanke identified the problems in words. But what is she doing? She's exacerbating the problem. Now, you're not going to hear this in the media. The media is not going to highlight this. They're not going to link this video. They're not going to talk about this. But this is the reason why there's wealth inequality. When you want to talk about wealth inequality, let's talk about the effects of low interest rates. If you look at higher interest rates, wealth inequality did not grow like crazy under high interest rates versus low interest rates. You can see it. So They're exacerbated. This is the group of people, the Fed, the Janet Yellens of the world, the Ben Bernankes, the Alan Greenspans of the world. They're the ones who are driving wealth inequality. It is not investors who are trying to game anyone. Anyone with 10,000 or 20,000 because of inflation saved, they're obviously going to be looking for yield. When the price of houses are going up, the price of cars is going up, of course you're going to look. You don't want to lose your savings. This is what happens when you have a central bank that keeps interest rates too low for too long. It hurts the poor, the middle class, the lower middle class. And that's why if we don't all get involved, they're going to continue making it worse. And again, they're going to play both sides. In words, they're going to talk about how they're going to solve the problem, but they're not doing that. They're just saying that. Very important.